setting up.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for our Facebook Live today. Today, we're talking about working from home with children. And I have here with me Kenneth, Adrian, Leyla, and Tamika, and they're going to go ahead and introduce themselves. So we're going to go ahead and start with Kenneth.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Kenneth and I am a professional counselor at Project Amistad. I work with veterans and also in our family counseling center, providing therapeutic services to our community.
Great, thank you, Kenneth, and welcome. Next, we're going to have Adrian Moody.
Hi everyone, my name is Adrian Moody. I am a co-founder of Moms on Board. Moms on Board is a lot of components, but one major one is a online resource on Facebook. It's called MOB, Families for El Paso, and it has about 8,000 family members from across town. That has tons of resources, and any kind of question you have, you can go post on there and you'll more than likely get an answer. Another thing that we do is we work with local leaders to bring more family-friendly amenities to the Sun City. Before this all started, we were working with city and county on parks, and we're also looking to revitalize Escada Park.
Great, awesome, welcome. We're gonna go over to Leyla.
Hi, my name is Leyla Zeidan. I am the other co-founder of Moms on Board. And like Adrian said, we are a resource for families. We share anything and everything that's going on in the city, as well as the best places for help, therapies, shopping, food, anything that's family friendly related.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. And last and certainly but not least, we have Tamika with EPISD.
Hello, Tamika Brown. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for EPISD for all of the El Paso Independent School District families. I hope that you had a great experience with EPISD at home. And, but more importantly, I'm a mom of 3, all under the age of 10. So I have been working full time throughout this whole pandemic, and I'm happy to share how I've been able to balance it all.
Great, thank you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, I'm Danae with Paso Chamber, and I'm going to be moderating this panel. So let's just hit the ground running. We're going to start with our first question. And the first question is directed towards Tamika and the folks over at Moms on Board. The school year finished a few weeks ago, and with some parents being concerned about children falling behind because of the transition to online learning, what are some educational resources parents can turn to for self-paced learning?
Well, I'll share the first thing is most of our districts, most districts in Region 19 have some computer adaptive program that students use throughout the year that they have access to during the summer. One that I know is pretty popular with elementary is iStation, but there are others. Those computer programs would be programs that students are used to, and would be something that parents can access in the summer just to mitigate learning loss and to allow students to continue to learn. But another option, the state of Texas has identified some learning materials for families to use in the summer. It's like 8 weeks worth of material in English and Spanish. It's in digital. You can get it digitally, or you can also get it in print. It's all grade levels. It focuses on the core content areas. And you can, like a parent can go to texashomelearning.org and find those resources. They're very aligned to grade level standards. So like for my child going to the 4th grade, the standards would be aligned to what he needs to be ready for going into 4th grade.
I'll answer also a little bit. We've been utilizing the EPISD, the ClassLink Plaza, and using those programs that are available, and they've been wonderful. Another resource that we've used is Khan Academy, which EPISD did use during the virtual schooling, and that one is great and has varying levels, so you can start tracking your progress. A paid program that is also really beneficial is called IXL, And similar to Khan Academy, where you can track your child's progress and you can add some other components to their learning. There are quite a few resources that are free, low cost, or paid. They vary across the board now, just with so many people having to utilize. One program that we're going to start trying on the 15th is Varsity Tutors. And that one is also a free service that I've heard some nice things about, but we're going to check it out and see. And then my kids right now are doing the EPISD summer camp from 9 to 11. And that has been a nice start to the morning. It gets them going and their brain working, and then we can figure out the rest of the day. So I know at least 9 to 11, they're doing some sort of academic and fun with EPISD.
So all of that is exactly all that, my family has been doing. In the morning, we'll do kind of like summer school that EPISD has provided, which has been amazing. It kind of takes their time from about 9 to 11. And they're learning and they're talking to other kids. So that's very important. After that, I kind of try to just break up the day. If you guys go on Mob Families for El Paso, you can see tons of resources there that just local families have been using. And kind of what Mob tries to do is promote local anyways. So there's tons of local people doing dance lessons and crafting lessons. And I don't know if you all have heard of Gigi's Playhouse, but if you have someone living with Down syndrome in your family, there's tons of online activities that they do there. They have cooking classes, karate, gymnastics, and stuff like that. Other than that, I try to kind of balance the online screen time versus, like actual physical learning. So I get them off their pad. We try to do cooking together. We do planting, bike rides, board games, just stuff like that. Just kind of give yourself a break too. If you're tired and they just want to be on the screen, just kind of just call it a day. And if you've had a good day of learning, just, give yourself a break. Don't be too hard on yourself.
So just to pivot from what you're saying, Adrian, this leads actually into my next question, because you sort of touched on a little bit of these things. And this is also something Kenneth might want to jump in on, is how to encourage kids to seek out more diverse entertainment in a healthy way, but not necessarily, hey, let's go out for a walk. So I know you touched a little bit on, trying to get them to do puzzles and things like that that are not necessarily something they might do every day. But what other things do you guys think to help encourage kids to do other things? If you guys have any.
So we've started doing some board games, which is not something we were doing beforehand. So we got a couple of board games and haven't kind of instituted some sort of a family game time or game night. And the kids have really enjoyed that. The favorite one right now is Rummy Cub, which is kind of like phase 10 or hand rummy. It's been really nice for them to play. They play by themselves now too. So sometimes if I am having to work, they'll be sitting next to me and they'll be playing that and kind of just back and forth. So I'm still involved with it. Another thing they've started doing is the cooking and kind of just playing around in the kitchen, which is not something we were really pushing beforehand, just because as a mom and rushing to get dinner on the table, it wasn't always fun to have extra hands making messes, but that has changed. And so they are enjoying that. And I think there's a lot to be said about learning opportunities that are not academic. Growing up, we did a lot of outside play, creative play, just by yourself pretend play with dolls. And I think over the course of these past several years, we've kind of forgotten that simple creative play is in fact learning. So just embracing that and allowing them to, as much as we don't like it, make some messes, get their hands dirty. It's been a lot nicer just to let that go and let them be kids.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what you said. I think that a lot of it is about flexibility and how we approach it. I think we've almost got to throw a lot of expectations out the window in this environment. We historically have had expectations about how everything's supposed to be in the home and a lot of things. So, you know, I don't know how many of you may be familiar with a book called Who Moved My Cheese, but it's kind of about things getting disrupted in our lives. And I feel like that is one of the most important strategies with this, is to realize that things are not the same and are not going to be the same for a long time, and that we have to lower our expectations and let the messes take place. Like you said, let the kids mess up. I know it can be frustrating, but sometimes I think as parents, we could run ourselves ragged if we try to clean up all the messes while we're all kind of stuck in the house together. It can be stressful. And I think that somebody else touched on it earlier. I think it's self-care is one of the most important thing, I think, for parents right now. And that's where I think the whole idea of structure, as we develop structure with our kids being home and trying to keep them entertained as well as help them learn through the various platforms, it's very important to incorporate in that structure self-care for the parents. You know, try to make sure. I know the easiest thing for a lot of parents to do is to get out of that structure and be like, oh, this is a different situation, and maybe not make them go to bed and not make them get up and these things. But I think maintaining that structure, because if they still get in the bed at the same time as they were when they were going to school, that gives the parent some time in the evenings to kind of just have some downtime, some self-care. And I think those strategies are important for the parents as well as for the kids. Because the more the parents are stressed out, the more difficult it's going to be for the kids. And I think it's very important too to remember that while this is affecting adults, it's also affecting the children in very profound ways as well, with being in this different setting.
Thank you, Kenneth. Yes, you make some great points about structure and strategies. So now I'm glad you brought that up, because maybe you, Kenneth, and Tamika can sort of touch on some of the strategies for parents in creating structure around learning.
So for me, because with my job, it's very demanding. I have to work a lot. I'm in meetings constantly throughout the day. I have twins that are 3 and I have a 9-year-old. So it's pretty crazy in my house. But you know, what I have found to work for us is like consistency. Everything is predictable and like really empowering our kids. So we have a schedule. To Kenneth's point, you know, we get up still at the same time. You know, we go through our morning routine. We give our kids options. So they do have options, but it's a pretty consistent schedule. They know exactly, you know, when we're going to have lunch, when, you know, we're going to have some downtime, what we like to call white space, so that we're not planning every second of the day. And, you know, and I have had to let go of some things. So we have been very strict about, you know, screen time, TV time, you know, all of that. But the reality is we've had to allow them to watch TV a little bit more than we would normally allow them to watch TV. Not excessive, but just more than we would normally allow them to watch TV. And I had to let that go because, I mean, I'm in meetings all day. So there are blocks of time, especially in the afternoon after nap time, that, you know, that I'm like, okay, what are they going to do? But that consistency though, like having that schedule is predictable. They know when we're going to have snack. They know when, you know, I'm running out between meetings. So just having that schedule is, I think, the most important thing for both the parents and the students, so that they can, you know, manage the day on a consistent basis without overwhelming each other.
Yeah, it gives them a balance too, and it gives them like a safety net to know that what's going to come that next hour, or that, you know, what to look forward to. So I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I mean, you guys have touched on pretty much all of the things that I find myself doing with my children, because like Tamika, I also have very little ones. So I have a 1.5-year-old daughter and I have a 4-year-old. So just trying to give myself some, you know, self-care, but also give them some structure. So we also wake up early in the morning and try to get our day going. I mean, I think just like Kenneth said, right now it's important for kids to have sort of some structure because they're also dealing with all the pressures and all the things that go along with learning and learning from home and just being home in this situation that we're in. So this goes to my next question. How can parents handle frustrations around learning, either their own learning, or I find I'm seeing that parents are sort of relearning some of the things that their kids are being taught in school, and they're kind of trying to play catch up along with their kids too. So how do you all guys handle some of those frustrations?
Be easy on yourself. Take a step back. Take a walk around the living room. And I know when we first switched to the virtual learning, getting set up on the technology, the printer, the internet, the teachers having a hard time uploading things, and then we couldn't download things. Knowing that it wasn't just us, this is everybody. So that just knowing it's not all on you. So just having that grace and taking that moment and realizing we have time. We have all day to figure this out. So yes, maybe it was supposed to be turned in at noon, but if you can't do it, the teacher knew that. So we got turned in, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, knowing that it was not just us, and everyone had some sort of difficulty is, I think, one of the things that got us through for those first few weeks. And then now it's kind of similar. My kids are bored. They come and tell me, I'm bored. What can we do? Well, this is what it is. Everyone's bored. We got to find something to do. So just knowing that we are not by ourselves, I think, is just that first, we are going to get through this. We can figure this out, and just taking a step back and trying to be kind to yourself and your family.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old, and 3-year-olds have a hard time communicating anyways. And so how do they communicate? They have tantrums. And
yes, they do.
Yeah, we're in the same boat, Tamika. And so
the tantrums happen with the older kids too.
Yes, yeah. Tantrums, actually, maybe I'm throwing tantrums too right now. So.
I think also I've had a couple.
But I just went back to the basics, and I just tried to level with him, like, what is he going through? I sat down on the floor with him, and I looked at him, and I just listened, and I tried to find exactly what was wrong, what he needed, and I find a lot of times 3-year-olds just want to hear that you, or know that you know what they're saying. So, Mommy, I want the pad. Oh, you want the pad? Yes, and all of a sudden his tantrum would just dissipate. And so we would just talk it through. And like Leyla was saying, I think before, life was just so rushed. We had, our whole months planned. Sometimes people had their whole years planned. If Leyla and I had to plan a play date, we'd have to go 2 or 3 months in advance because everyone was so busy. But now we could take this time to kind of just realize we don't have to rush, and we don't have to rush our kids, and we don't have to rush, the perfect schedule. We don't have to rush the perfect dinner. We don't have to rush, meetings. We just can take our time and find out what priorities are for, what makes us happy, and then just stick to those priorities. But I think communication is the key with family right now, especially if there's 2 parents in the household. Just kind of balancing that schedule can be hard too. But just kind of talking to each other, and just don't be too rough on each other and yourself. Don't, just go with the flow, as they say.
That brings up a couple of good points. And I think, one of the things I was thinking about with this is I think it can start for some parents kind of reframing the whole situation, because I think there's sometimes the frustration for parents is kind of like we're all kind of being forced into a whole different thing here, and we're trying to get used to it. But I think trying to reframe the situation from, oh, I have to teach my kids and I have to do this, to more along the lines of I get to teach my kids. This whole thing is really an opportunity for parents to really reconnect with their kids in ways that maybe they haven't been able to previously. And that kind of goes on, I think, with the frustration of trying to develop the structure and some of the stuff around learning, is really considering how your kids learn, and you can actually customize an environment for your kids now. The classroom didn't provide for that, but at home you can kind of I guess, customize, so to speak, their learning environment, kind of really consider how your kids learn. Maybe they learn better when there's stuff going on around them. Maybe they would prefer to sit out back at the picnic table with their computer and do work, or just, I mean, really be creative. And I think creativity is one of the big things in all of this, is really looking at how our kids learn and how we can best structure that and create that environment for them within that. I think that's very important.
And one other thing that I have found to help also, because again, I'm in meetings all day, every day, and I'm trying to find that balance, right, between, you know, managing work and then managing home responsibilities. And of course, I have a husband, and we're both in this together. He's working from home also. But like one of the strategies that I would also, you know, share with parents is that with my 9-year-old, we would also connect with other families through video conferencing. And that has been very helpful for a couple of reasons. One, you know, my son is just hungry for just social interaction. But then secondly, like just being able to talk with a friend, like, you know, parents are not really around, just letting them talk about the work as they're doing the work. It's been helpful to him, so that he has a buddy and they're working through it together. It's helpful for me and for my husband, because you know, he's able to, you know, get his work done, and we're able to get our work done. We definitely work with him also, but I mean, with working parents, if you're working all day, like, you still have to work. So you have to find those opportunities to help your kids be self-sufficient, like they can do things without you, so that you can continue to work. Otherwise, you build up the frustration, and you're not able to manage it. So we just kind of found ways to do that with our son.
Yeah, I think those are. Oh, go ahead, Lou.
I was just gonna say the connection with the friends. One of my youngest, he's 8, and we'd never considered, you know, him wanting to talk on the phone, and that's something that he has started to do with like some video chat with friends, because they need to. They've been so long without being with other kids, that what would typically not happen, you know, an 8-year-old wanting to be on the phone and video chatting. That's my older daughter. That's what she does. So I was kind of expecting that to happen a lot later. But yes, they need that connection. And the days that he has that, he is just such a happier, more relaxed child. So he's the one that is very easily, I can tell when he's having a bad day, pretty much just by looking at him. And so when he has that connection with his friends, it's just so nice. And it's 10 minutes. They talk really just about a game or a TV show, or they show their rooms, and that's it. But he had a connection. So it's really helpful.
Yes,
go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just because I think the whole thing of using technology, and I know, you know, age appropriateness, of course, has to be considered, and I think there needs to be some flexibility in that. But using technology, I mean, just like we're on here today, having this interaction, I mean, you know, being creative and setting up some virtual play dates where there's, you know, you got a group of friends that are on their cameras, and they're in a group, and they can connect and talk to each other. I think all that's important, because, you know, I find myself longing for social interactions that I can't get right now because of everything that's going on. And I know the kids are no different. They long for that as much as we do. And so the technology, while it's not the same, it can help facilitate that. And I think that's where we got to maintain that flexibility, and some of the things that we may not have normally done and allowed our kids to do, we may consider doing those things and allowing for those interactions to take place, because they do need them.
Just one quick tip that I found, which I don't know why I didn't find it earlier, but Facebook Messenger Kids is a fun interaction, and they can interact with their family members and their grandparents, and, you know, you could call dad or mom at work, or friends, and they can communicate with that. And it's been kind of fun for my boys to navigate through that as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that tip, Adrian. Just talking about tantrums, going back to that, because I know I've experienced quite a few tantrums, myself included, just like Adrian. Here, one of our questions that we have coming in is, what strategies do you use with families to sort of dissipate the tension that's going on and sort of facilitate or, you know, sort of try to control disagreements among family members, because we are together 24/7 now. And just like Tamika said, she and her husband are both working parents, my spouse and myself included, working with little ones. So it's sort of like we're doing like a little dance of the handoff, who's going to take care of who. And, you know, just how do you work around those things when there's sometimes conflict in families? So I'm going to shoot this question to Kenneth, just so we can get his expertise on this question.
That's a lot to ask, but I think that it is really important to try to just give everybody their space. When when tensions get high, I think it's about, and I know this can get challenging for some families, because some families may live in some pretty tight spaces and there may not be like room for everybody to just kind of dissipate. But I think it's so important to be willing to just go and maybe step outside. Maybe let the kids go outside in the backyard and play. I think it is respecting each other's space and not necessarily trying to fix it. I think sometimes, and I think that's something we do as parents a lot. We try to, when our kids are kind of in a funk, we want to try to fix it. But I think there's times when it's better just to kind of, in a way, let them work through it and then take our own time to work through it as well. And I think just allowing for the space is one of the best strategies that I could offer. And I think too, it's about developing a willingness to, the thing is, we all experience so much discomfort in this. And I think as the adults, as the parents in the situation, I think we have to develop a willingness to kind of be uncomfortable, to not be able to just have all the answers and fix all this stuff with our kids. And it's okay for us to not have the answers. And I think, you know, several of you have touched that about being easy with ourselves and kind of holding ourselves very gently and compassionately and practicing self-compassion, and allowing this tension to grow and recognizing the tension, but not necessarily trying to make the tension go away. Just recognize it and be willing to experience the tension rather than trying to just run away from it in some cases, because some cases you can't. You might be in tight quarters with your family, you can't get away. So it's about being willing to hold those feelings and willing to experience those emotions and those feelings without necessarily having to make them go away, which is what most of us want to do anyway. So.
Yep. I've told my kids, leave each other alone, separate yourself, go find your space, go to your room, go make a fort if you need to. If the problem is because my boys share a room and they're on each other's nerves in the room, well, then the other one go sit, make a fort under the table and you can hang out there with a book. But when it continues, then, that's me saying, well, you asked, I said, leave each other alone, and you went back. So that's where now you need to look and see, why did you do that? And usually it comes down to they're tired and they just need to take a break from everything, everybody. And that's usually also when the electronics, I look at them and say, you guys have been on that too long. It's time to get off. Go outside, go find some, pink rock outside, go find me some sort of insect, tell me about it. Even if I know they're never going to find it, it's just go do something different, just to separate yourself from that. So space, yeah, that's definitely one of the ones that can help you find a space, your closet.
Well, thank you, Kenneth. That was some really good advice. You actually taught me some stuff too. So kind of go through the emotions and know that, just kind of deal with it. And everyone's kind of frustrated right now. I kind of like that. But what my family does, I think what Joe and I do, or my husband and I, is we talk it out. We always talk it out. We kind of have all these tiffs during the day. And then once the kids go to bed, we sit down, sometimes with a glass of wine, or sometimes, we'll pull out some ice cream. and we'll just say, okay, let's talk about it. Let's work through this, you know, and just kind of give each other a break too. And we always try not to go to bed angry. So that's how we roll. So.
That's great advice. Not going to bed angry. I definitely agree with that. I have to remind my 4-year-old constantly. She always wants to stay up and do more. So one of our final questions here is, I know someone brought up a EPISD summer camp. So I would like to know more about that. But also, I mean, right now there's not that many summer camps open, and with things sort of slowly opening around the city and the state, those are very limited right now. Do you guys have or know any resources where people can find information about summer camps? If you guys know about summer camps that are going on, if you guys can share any information about that, we can go ahead.
I'll just go real quick. I know I said this and I'll say it again, just utilize MOB, Families for El Paso, as much as you can. You can quickly put, what can I do for summer camp? Or what's a virtual karate lesson I could do? You know, like I said earlier, you could do piano lessons, dance lessons, crafting. There's Michael's is doing like a crafting class. Gigi's Playhouse, karate's, gymnastic. My boys like to do yoga. So we'll go to like YouTube and look up kids yoga. Another thing that you could get involved in that MOB is doing right now is they're trying to feed our firefighters. So if you have a local fire station, you know, that's down the street, and you kind of want to feed them, there's usually about 4 to 15 firefighters at one time. Just go ahead and message one of the admins, and we'll get you situated with all those details. But that's a fun thing, a family activity to do. You could kind of, and we're asking you to order from local restaurants. So it's like a two-way street. You're promoting local restaurants, and you're, you know, feeding them and feeding firefighters. So it's yeah, it's a great program that we have going on right now.
So we actually have over 500 virtual camps right now that are happening. We focus on academics in the morning, and in the afternoon, we have tried to provide enrichment activities for families, robotics, engineering, like art, music, like there are all kinds of enrichment, over 500 camps that are actually being offered by many of the employees in EPISD. And most of them have actually gotten pretty full, but there are still some seats available if parents register right now. And there's no cost. It's provided by the district. They are from 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 3. They are 5 days. All of the camps are 5 days. And they go from, you know, they started this week and they will go through July the 3rd. And so, you know, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. I heard from a couple of you saying you've taken advantage, but we wanted to provide this opportunity because we know that, you know, our students needed something to do, and they wanted something to do outside of, you know, just the typical math, science, English, social studies. And so we really have tried to provide this. And I do know that other districts in Region 19 are providing the same kinds of opportunities. And so, you know, it's something that I think parents should definitely take advantage of. It's something that the students would enjoy and want to do, as opposed to, you know, have to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Those are great resources. And I hope everybody that's watching our Facebook Live takes advantage of these opportunities because they sound really great for kids. And I think we're sort of nearing the end. So we're gonna wrap up with one final question for everybody. So anybody can just feel free to jump in there. What general advice do you have for parents balancing work and childcare during this time?
Well, I think that for sure, just being patient with yourself. You know, Leyla talked about that earlier, but, you know, be patient with yourself, you know, take time for you. I get up every morning at the same time, you know, 5:30, and try to go out for a run. But if that's not your thing, you know, whatever your thing is, you know, find time for you. If you're married, my husband and I, we try to For whatever reason, we usually have a window between 12 and 1. We'll try to just walk and our kids are with us sometimes, but just getting out of the house and walking the street for like 15 minutes just to, break up the monotony of meeting, feed the kids, meeting, change this station. Like it's that, just to break it up, to get out of the house. But just be really patient with yourself. Don't be afraid to use YouTube if you don't understand what kids are supposed to do. Don't be afraid to Google it. Okay, what do you mean by equivalent fractions? I have no idea. Like Google it, because there are all kinds of resources on the internet that will help your students do the work that they need to do.
Yeah, just the same thing, just kind of try to have a schedule, try to stick to it as much as possible. But if you can't, if there's a day where everyone's just not feeling it, don't beat yourself up too much.
I guess just to reiterate what they've said, I mean, from my perspective, it's really just about practicing lots of self-compassion. And, sometimes I describe it to somebody like, how would you hold a beautiful rose in the palm of your hand? You would hold it very gently. And I asked that each parent would hold themselves in that same light. You want to hold on to it tightly, but you don't want to crush it, and you don't want to hurt yourself, and you don't want to hurt your kids. So just hold on to things lightly and I guess we've got to be somewhat gymnastics oriented. We got to be quite flexible in so many things. I mean, rigidness in this environment will just create a lot more stress for you and for your family. So just being flexible and holding yourself lightly.
Yep. I was just going to say also picking your battles. So my son that just came in, that's all he wants to do. He wants to come in and wave, and then he's gone. He's great the rest of the meeting. So understanding that that's all he needed was like that 10 seconds. It doesn't interrupt really any of my meetings that are happening. It kind of breaks it up, and then he's gone. But when it first started happening, I would stress, and I was so like mortified and thinking, oh my gosh, you just interrupted this meeting. And it was, almost the worst thing that could have happened. And then realized, oh, it was, not even 10 seconds. And the rest of the meetings are fine. It's one meeting in the day that he decides that that's the one he wants to come and say hi. Like, all right. So just kind of, again, picking what's going to work and what's not going to work. And then if it has to be something where really nobody can interrupt, I had the talk beforehand with the kids and they all understand. We figure something out, put a movie, movies, popcorn and ice cream. I mean, that's the staple for summer. So I think we're good to have that starting and utilizing that. That's my memories of summer. So, I mean, I'm going to let my kids have that also. So.
Well, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I've learned so much just by hearing everybody's sort of similar experiences. Everybody has a little different sort of take on it, which is great because, I mean, we're not alone, right? So it's good to know that we're all sort of taking this journey together. We're all having sort of similar concerns, and it's good to talk it out, I think, amongst parents. And sometimes it's just great information to just get and to know that you're not alone. So I really appreciate all of you guys for joining us today. And if you guys have anything else to share with us, please feel free to reach out. I think we're done with the questions for today. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here with us on our Facebook Live. And we'll see you guys at our next Facebook Live. Hopefully we can get a lot of more people at that one too. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.